So the issue I'd like to start with is number 2804387. Inform users that the maintenance mode message is not displayed on cached pages. Um, and I have over here, no, not there. Um, Over here, I have to be careful not to reload this page because this is what the maintenance mode admin form uh, currently looks like on the 11.x development branch. Um, there's a little bit of help text at the top, a checkbox, and a text area for the message to display. The default is that sort of innocuous. Our site is currently under maintenance. We should be back shortly. Thank you for your patience. And what this issue is about is that if you don't clear caches after enabling maintenance mode, and you have any sort of caching front end like Varnish or CDN in front of your Drupal site, then um, anonymous visitors will continue to see the cached content rather than seeing the maintenance mode message. Um, Give me a moment. I'm reopening the chat window. Thank you, Ralph. Posted the link to, I think, both issues in the Zoom chat. So we reviewed this issue um, some time ago. I guess I can this tab. We talked about it in the August 9th and September 19th usability meetings. And since our last review, some work has been done on the issue, and this is what the maintenance mode admin form looks like currently. And some of the suggestions have been implemented, but I think that it could use a few more tweaks and maybe I should first show how to navigate to it. So under configuration development, this is the link for maintenance mode. Before I go on, any questions about the context or what the issue is about?
Yeah, we will be requiring that. Yes.
I'm sorry?
Yes, please.
Do you have questions about the context? Do you understand what the issue is about?
No, no, we don't. So can you provide the context, please? Yes.
Well, I did just provide the context that the point of the issue is to inform the site administrator that they might want to clear caches after enabling maintenance mode, because otherwise anonymous visitors might see cached content rather than just the maintenance mode message. That's the context. And then the issue discusses the specific wording to use. Um, so one of the recommendations was to rearrange the elements on the page. Again, going back to the old one, you can see the difference between the two. I have umami. Oh, and I can share my site with you. I'll put this link in the Zoom chat. You can log in as admin/admin. So I have the merge request applied in this umami window, and if you look at the fave icon, you can see last night I was using um, the default profile. Um, so the original order was help text, checkbox, text area, and at the last meeting, we suggested that they rearrange it to help text, then text area, and then the checkbox at the bottom. And then some of the help text from the checkbox, visitors will only see the maintenance mode message. Some of that help text has been moved into the help text at the top. Um, visitors will only see the maintenance mode message. So I think there are a couple of tweaks I would like to make to this. So first of all, the help text is one paragraph with a line break inside, and I can show you that in my developer tools. Um, here's the paragraph tag, and that's highlighting all of the help text. And here's the break tag. Um, and I think that instead of a break tag, we should be using a new paragraph. So let me use my developer tools to show you what that would look like. So we get a little bit of vertical space between the first, what's it, two sentences and the next two sentences. Um, opinions on that? Do you agree with me? Disagree?
I do think it makes it more readable to have it broken up. It looked like quite a chunk of text originally.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yes, I agree as well that this is more readable.
I think
And
semantically, if it's either one paragraph or two paragraphs, so having a line break there, it doesn't feel at all sensible.
okay, so I think we have consensus on that change. And I even wonder if we should go further um, and add yet another paragraph break. Um, before this sentence and make it three paragraphs, or is that going too far?
Hmm.
When I look at it, it should so it's the authorized users. It's in the like it talks about authorized users and visitors. So I think they should be in the same paragraph, or authorized users. Sentence starting with authorized users should also be its own paragraphs. So it could kind of be some kind of bullet list, authorized users, these visitors, this. But I think it's talking about different kinds of users. It could be one paragraph.
Okay.
I also wonder if that last sentence could be condensed a bit. Visitors would only see the maintenance mode message, something like as long as pages, but on pages that are not already cached. But yeah, I haven't thought enough about that in the light of the wording of that.
Yeah, the point of the issue is to suggest to the administrator that they go ahead and clear the caches. And I think having that in a separate sentence um,
Yeah, maybe.
is what we recommended the last time we looked at the issue.
To be fair, I always thought this was a feature of this that actually, I quite often sold this as a feature that actually most visitors probably won't ever see the maintenance mode message because the pages are heavily cached.
That's a good point. Right. The point of maintenance mode is to protect your site and and not have people see things prematurely, but having people see cached pages is usually preference to this
Yeah,
innocuous message.
and yeah, and the times that I use it is when I'm obviously updating a site or something. So you put it into maintenance mode so that editors aren't writing to the database while you're making database changes. That's in my head what this is used for.
Right.
So actually just showing cache pages is perfectly fine. So yeah, maybe I don't know if the wording of it needs to include a bit of an option there.
Yeah, so the current text, it isn't actually making a recommendation. It's
No,
describing the state.
yeah, of course, yeah.
Do you want people to see the maintenance mode message or do you want them to see cached content?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
another recommendation the last time we discussed it was to repeat that last sentence under the check mark. So they're going back to the current state, 11.x.
yeah.
The first two sentences have been moved up to the help text. The third sentence is, oh, I'm sorry. I guess all three sentences here have been moved up to the help text. And the new sentence is repeated in both the help text and here. So again, that's describing the state. There was discussion on the issue about after you submit the form, um, perhaps putting in a call to action, say, here's a link to go and clear the caches. And I guess we've moved away from that to
Mhm.
just describing the state rather than a call to action.
Yep. No, I agree. Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, and do people agree that we just want it to be 2 paragraphs and not 3? That was Simo's opinion. I don't feel strongly either way. So
Yeah,
let's go back to,
I think 2 paragraphs is fine.
okay, go back to that. Another thing is that we've rearranged the sentences. So going back to 11.x, it started off with visitors and then talked about authorized users. And we've turned that around. Authorized users can log in directly, and then the next sentence mentions visitors. So I wonder whether we should change that and either say anonymous visitors or other visitors. I guess it's not just anonymous visitors.
It's
It's as
unauthorized visitors, yeah.
right.
Because
So as
you
you
may even
suggested,
be, yeah, you may even be logged in, but just not able to see the maintenance because you haven't got that using site maintenance mode permission.
right. So content editors, as you said before. Um, so so should
Unauthorized users.
so that would give a good parallelism. Authorized users in one sentence, unauthorized visitors or unauthorized users in the next one. Or we could just say other visitors.
I would use the terminology used on the permissions page and call it anonymous users.
But yeah,
Okay.
but
To stay consistent.
that doesn't cover registered users that don't have permission.
I think if we talk about authorized users, we might want to change the first sentence so that it kind of explains what does it mean to be authorized. So only users with the use site in maintenance mode permissions will be authorized to access the site. So then we could talk about unauthorized.
You could
And
maybe then just put a comma and then they can log in directly using the login page.
Oh, I don't like putting a comma in, combining the two sentences. My mother was an English professor, and she would call that a comma splice.
Well, with 3 commas in the sentence above.
Well, that's because they're separating a list.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not the number of commas, it's the semantic
I think
intent.
in Swedish you could write it as if it would have commas, but you're not required to put the commas in. So they are quite relaxed about commas, even if they. So you can either put them or not.
So Ralph suggested using the language on the permission form, and there's this link here to the permission form, and that, whoops, wrong direction. And that is one of my pet peeves, that this overwhelming form, at least now you can filter and find the maintenance mode message. Use the site in maintenance mode and then anonymous authenticated administrator. So Ralph, you were suggesting we use these terms,
Yep.
right? But then as I think Gareth pointed out, maybe it was someone else, it is only some authenticated users, depending on how the permissions are applied. And here in this installation, it's only people with the administrator role
Yeah, so
who
you
get
could be
the permission.
you could be a visitor and also an author and logged in as an author.
Right. Or an editor in this installation profile. This again is umami.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
but my thought was mainly referring to basically the term or the noun visitor, and to replace that with anonymous user, so that the person is not logged in. But yeah, I agree that in the other context, not every authenticated user will be able to see it.
And
They
that's
have
why
to have the permission appropriate. So
that's why I thought that the juxtaposition to authorized users and unauthorized users.
yeah, but
Because
unauthorized users brings in again, yeah,
Or visitors without permission will only see the maintenance mode.
And I'll just say again, my suggestion was other visitors or other users.
Yep.
if somebody is feeling silly, they could just check the box also to allow anonymous users to use the site in maintenance mode. So technically that would be possible.
Yes. You could let everyone see it. Or
it's a free world.
anonymous users and administrators.
Well, which may not be crazy if your anonymous users are only browsing the website and reading the content. It's because if you use maintenance mode to protect database rights, then anonymous users may be able to use the site. They just
Yep.
won't be able to log in because they don't have a login, and they won't be able to edit anything.
Yeah. but their actions might be logged into the database. So
But then that's an administrator decision, then, isn't it? That we're
Yeah,
we're not changing that permission. You know, if you have statistics module or history module enabled, then you're going to want to make sure that, and I don't think that's a part of this ticket, is to go, you know what, I suppose it already says if the updates could disrupt the visitors or the process. I think you probably do want to consider how you're using your permissions then at that point, but that's out with the scope of this ticket.
yeah, I agree. That's certainly part of the freedom that the site builder has. And we can't go through all possible reasons for making that decision. We wouldn't want to do that here. So we have a few suggestions.
I think the simplest change is probably just, other visitors will only see the maintenance mode message.
Okay. I like that. Shall we make that recommendation?
Yeah.
So I'll just do that with my browser tools. Other visitors. So not making it a parallel construction, but sort of using the context of the previous sentence. Authorized users can, other visitors will only see the maintenance mode message. And then the newly added sentence about cached pages. Go ahead.
What's the definition of user? Because authorized users, so it could be authorized anonymous. Do we count, like, it's not about user accounts, but site users, it can have multiple meanings. So it's not a problem really, just thinking.
Yeah, so I think authorized users has to be understood in the context of the first sentence in the paragraph. Users, which is, as Gareth points out, could include anonymous users who have the permission. And then the last tweak I had in mind here, as I said, the overwhelming permissions page is one of my pet peeves. And some time ago, we introduced the permission page. Whoops, didn't mean to click that star. Grr. There's a permissions page. Here, I'll highlight it in my address bar for each module or each list of modules. So we can get just the permissions for the system module, which you still have the option to filter by name, but you also have the option of just scrolling down to find the maintenance mode permission. So the last tweak I'd like to suggest, oops, for this text is that this link should go to the page that just lists permissions for the system module.
Yep. Just as an aside, there was never any thought about doing what's available in the extend section, with the tab filtering.
So this page?
Yeah. Oh, the way you can close things down. I think I always end up putting.
Oh yeah. I often close those tabs too, and it would be nice if we could close them all at once.
But I sometimes enable module filter, which puts those into a tab at the side.
Right.
Closes everything by default. It's probably a third party, a third contributed module.
Yes.
There is. And I think there might be permissions filtered already.
And Sahil asks in the chat, our goal here is to make the user understand the text swiftly. Yes, that's usually one of the goals when looking at interface text as we are here. So we try to make our text scannable. We try to front load important terms, all of which make it easier for people to get the important information quickly. And the specific goal of the issue we've been talking about is to mention the caching. So that's this last sentence. It's generally understood that the front and the end, first and last elements of a list, for example, are the things that are easiest to notice, and stuff in the middle tends to get buried and not noticed. And I guess the other change that's already been implemented is that other text from the checkbox help text has been moved up to the page help text. And so the information about caching is even more prominent when you actually put the site into maintenance mode when you're looking at this checkbox. So those were the tweaks that I had in mind, breaking it up into 2 paragraphs, changing it from visitors to other visitors, and the link to the permissions page. And Sahil gives us a link to some Figma page with a different suggestion. Why is that not opening for me? Let's try copy and paste. And I'm hearing some background noise. Gareth, Simo, you're the only 2 other than me who are unmuted. So let's see, I'm not a big fan of Figma, so I'm not familiar with the controls. But let's try to zoom in a bit. So you're suggesting adding these headers, when to use maintenance mode, access during maintenance mode, and then it looks as though the text underneath those headings is pretty much the text that's already there. Oh, I didn't mean to make a tab group. Okay, yes, so this first paragraph is unchanged except that you've added the heading. And I think your text here is, well, maybe it's just wider, and that's why it's only 2 lines. Still 4 sentences. So yeah, that's the same text. So what do people think of adding the headings to to the now that we have two paragraphs? And I see there are some comments. Yeah. So Sahil confirms that's the only change was adding the headings, not changing any of the text. What do other people think of that suggestion?
I think it's sort of breaking the pattern used usually on help text because there aren't any headings there, if I remember correctly. So I'm not sure if it would provide much benefit.
I think one thing it does, it moves the inputs a bit down on the screen, but it does provide different kind of perspective than we are used to. I think we should look this approach as a kind of a more of a general design, because that's not something we use at the moment on other forms. So I think I wouldn't use it here because we don't have it as a general pattern, I think, on the interface. But it does help to get overall picture of what's the kind of it makes it easier to scan.
It definitely makes it easier. Yeah, I like it myself. And it also makes me think that perhaps breaking up other help texts might be the way to go if there is 2 or 3 paragraphs. Giving each paragraph a bit of context might help.
And I guess there are sort of two approaches to making large changes. One is to plan them out in advance and do a top-down review and then start making individual changes. And the other is to make small incremental changes. And if people like the new pattern, then they can start using it in other places. I'm generally a fan of the second approach. We get benefit from the new approach sooner if we start by making small changes and then adopt them in other places. Um, Top-down reviews often get bogged down, and we don't see any benefit from them for a very long time.
We could use this and then start looking at what other config pages have long text that could be broken down and start looking at that.
Right, and that could either take the form of sort of a comprehensive review, or just as we come across other config pages in the course of our regular work, these meetings, we can start suggesting that we add headers. Um,
There may
so
well
shall we?
be, yeah, it might be nice to suggest it, but I can see somebody saying that this might be scope creep, seeing as the ticket is just really about that cached pages
Yep.
sentence. So it may need another ticket just to say, actually, well, while we've looked at this, we probably want to rethink the use of long blocks of text, and then use this as a suggestion for that ticket.
Yeah, we certainly have that option. When we give the usability reviews, we often make recommendations, and then we often also make suggestions, which the intention is that suggestions have less weight than recommendations. So, and I think that's a good middle of the road option here, to make it as a suggestion and let the people working on the issue decide whether they agree and want to implement it. So shall we make it a suggestion?
I think so.
Okay, I like that. So unless someone else wants to volunteer, I'm happy to add the comment to the issue. And we're more than halfway through the meeting. We still have a little less than 20 minutes. I think that is enough time to at least look at a second issue. And here it is. This is the one I had in mind. Again, this is something we've looked at previously for the sake of the recording. It's issue 2704931. Provide Drupal root path on file system admin form. And we've previously looked at it in August and September. And let me move this tab over. And what we're talking about here, just to give context, it's under configuration, media, file system. And this hierarchy has been around for longer than the media module in core, which might be confusing. So this is what it currently looks like. So this page lists the public file system path, which on my site is the default site's default files. It gives the URL to the to that directory. You have the option of putting your optimized assets, your aggregated CSS and JavaScript files in a different directory, but the default is to use the same site's default files as the public file system path. So this is what it currently looks like, and I think that's very similar to this first screenshot. The second screenshot shows what it looks like if the merge request is applied. And two changes. The first is that it adds this new item at the top of the list, the application root directory, and then the absolute path to the top level directory of the Drupal installation, which is also called the document root, although I guess technically that's what Apache calls the document root is not necessarily the same as this. So that's the first change. It adds application root directory at the top, and then it adds the absolute path to each of these other things, the public file system, not to the URL, the optimized assets file system path, and the private file system path. So this is in response to our previous review. Oops. So before and it does not add anything to the temporary directory. So again, before I go on and suggest any changes, do people have questions about what the issue is about, what it does? what the context is. I think the bottom of this page is the form. Oh, sanitize file names. I think that's not shown in the screenshot. Oh, it is, but it's been closed. Oh, and it's also at the bottom of the page instead of, anyway. It looks like some other work has been done on this page while this issue's been in progress. Oh, and Sahil volunteers to make the comment. So let me again paste the issue link, the one we were talking about before. I'll paste that link again into the chat. So I think this is a different approach from the previous version of the merge request. Um, I think previously it was just showing the absolute path instead of the what's configured in settings.php. And now it keeps the site's default files, which is currently there. It keeps that. And instead of replacing it, it adds the absolute path in a slightly smaller font underneath. So do people like that approach?
I think that absolute path is too much like the label public file system path, so it's too close. So it looks at least in this scaling, it looks like it's kind of the same level. It should be. I think it would be better if it would be somehow kind of visually different.
So for example, would you prefer it if we simply put the absolute path in parentheses after the configured path?
Yeah, it would kind of, for me, it would be better.
Okay. Other opinions?
Hmm.
I think I can actually, behind the scenes in the terminal window that I'm not sharing, I can switch to that.
I thought about that parentheses approach as well, but then still the overall heading or title for that paragraph is still public file system path, and so it sort of collides. So, not sure.
Sahil asks in the chat, will a user be copying this URL in any scenario? Um, so let's see, I've applied the merge request. Hopefully I didn't break anything. So the only URL on this page is this one for the public file base URL. Sahil, is that the one you had in mind? Yes. So I think that's, the one item that's not changed by the merge request. So as far as this particular issue is concerned, that's out of scope. But that information has been there for a long time. I guess people might copy it. Can't think offhand. Usually there's a more convenient link to the actual file. For example, when you edit a node and upload a file to it, the user interface gives you a complete link to the file. In fact, I could scroll to the bottom of the issue, and if I upload a file, then before I save the page, I get a link to it. Where do we have the list of attachments? Show 17 more files. Right, so here these are all links to the actual file. There's no need to separately have the base URL of the files directory, but that has been available for a long time. Does that answer the question? Okay.
By the way, is this aware if it's about the if it's using HTTP or HTTPS? So I think in general, all sites nowadays use HTTPS for public files, but does the site know if it's there or if it's forced?
Let's see. I think I can answer that question. Let's copy the path. So this is the shared version, the ngrok version of the site, but I can also go to HTTP, drupal.ddev.site, and then paste in, whoops, the rest of that. And I think it will show HTTP.
As long as you're logged in.
Oh, I'm logged in on the HTTPS version of the site, but not on the
Can you
not
do
on the HTTP version.
ddev drush ULI and then copy the /user /reset? And
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Good.
And yes, it is aware.
Yep.
Whether I'm using the secure or insecure version. So again, we answered that for our curiosity, but it's I think it's out of scope for the current issue. I'm sorry, Ralph, could you say again why you don't like the idea of parentheses?
What was my thinking? Um, yeah, for that air quotes paragraph or section, the overall label or title is basically about the public file system, and then adding the private in parentheses afterwards.
Oh, no, that's not what we were suggesting.
Was it absolute?
Yeah, it's the absolute path that corresponds to the configured relative path. So optimized assets path. Whoa. So what I'm suggesting is just that we delete all of that and put the file system path in parentheses, like so.
But then if you
So
double click,
But-
if you're trying to copy that and you double clicked site's default, it would highlight the whole triple,
Well, if I triple click,
which, and if you want to actually copy and paste site's default files or even var www, then there's no kind of easy way to double click that.
right? You have to use the mouse and click again. Or actually, you can extend with the cursor. So just holding down Shift and cursor. We only have
If you kept
a
the
few
line
minutes
break in there,
left.
if you kept the line break in there, you could probably still keep the parentheses.
Um, so you're suggesting that we
Put a line break there, yeah.
have to edit as HTML, and then instead of a space, have a break. So rather than a second subheading, we're down to 2 minutes left, so we may not have time to discuss all options here. One thing I noticed is that the current merge request doesn't show the absolute path for the temporary files, or does it?
Mm-hmm. Oh, the merge request doesn't.
That's funny. I see it here now. I don't remember seeing it last night. I forget. I might have done something. I may have done something to change that. Okay, but now we're down to just 1 minute left, so we really do have to wrap up. Oh, and I see that Anmol suggests as an alternative, including the subheading absolute path, but also adding relative path for what's configured in settings.php. Although it's not always relative path. You could configure an absolute path in settings.php. And in fact, the comments in settings.php, or at least default settings.php, suggests that some of these, at least the private files, maybe some others, have to be configured as absolute paths. But in fact, that's not true. But we do have to wrap it there. And any other last comments? Because we are at the end of the hour. Thank you all for coming. Let me just say that having a variety of opinions, including sometimes newbies, including front-end and back-end developers and so forth, is, I think, what gives the usability team its authority. And when making recommendations on an issue, I'm always much more confident of the recommendation when we have a larger meeting, we have a variety of opinions making the suggestions. So thank you. I hope you'll all make some of the upcoming meetings as well. Glad to see you all today.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.